guarantee is how I look at it, because you have so many servers. There doesn't appear to be any sort of rules in terms of which servers you can connect to. If you can connect to them, I assume you can use them. Me and Roy are the only two people in this particular channel at the moment.
And the servers themselves are free
Yeah.
software. The backend software is called Murmur, and I never really tried to run it, and I didn't set up an instance to host it. I think there is a commercial company coming out of this, free software thing. Commercial, what do you know? Because when I searched for information about it, I found a .com website which basically provides hosting of servers for this facility. So maybe if you're in a company and you're looking for a web conferencing tool that would enable you to encrypt and to secure your communication with SSL, and you don't want to use something like Asterisk, this might be an opportunity. You can set this up, you can go into chats, you can communicate cross-platform.
I agree, and it's probably one of the travesties of the open source world, because, like I say, packages like this you don't hear about. It's not on, not spoken about all the time. Or I can't remember how we came across Mumble. I think it was purely a directed search for a replacement to Skype. But people should be talking about these packages, because, as I say, me and Roy, and obviously we have an agreement with well, not agreement, but our opinions are favoured towards free and open source software. But having said that, we don't give a package an easy ride, and if it causes problems, I'm sure Roy would be the first to say the problems as much as I would. But there's been no simpler package in terms of easy use, setting it up, common sense UI with requesters that actually make sense and do as they say. Then Mumble. It's been an absolute pleasure to install.
Since we mentioned that, okay, Mumble is mostly for multi-person communications. It doesn't have to be. It can be one like myself and team right now, and you can define rules by which some people will be listeners and some people will be active participants. So in theory, you could also do a live show, and this is something we're going to be working towards, I think, in the coming months or whatever. But here's the thing. I tried a lot of zip clients on Android and GNU Linux, and the ones that work best for me, and trust me, I did try quite a few, and the team would know that as well. On Android, use LeanPhone. LeanPhone works really well with any of the other clients that are using zip. On a GNU/Linux desktop, use JITSI, JITSI. That's the only one that really works for me really well. Not necessarily always with video, but sometimes with video as well. And that uses Java, fortunately, but it works well, and it shouldn't be hard. As I've spent, I would say, almost 1,000 hours, maybe, using it basically as a phone application between an Android phone and a Linux desktop. So it's a very valuable combination. It's possible to completely avoid Skype. You just need to know which applications to use. That's all.
Well, we certainly haven't used Skype since we discovered Mumble. And when we came back to recording, it was a very simple process to get straight back into it. In fact, I think we had the whole system up and running within about 5 or 10 minutes, and that was both of us installing it and then getting hooked up together.
There are some applications people should be very careful when they install them. One of them is Skype, especially the version from Microsoft, which had been modified over the past couple of years to change the architecture of the exchange and transmission of data, and that apparently enables much simpler surveillance, real-time surveillance as well. And we now know that the intelligence services are also tapping onto videos in real time. And another package would be Dropbox. Dropbox would encourage people, whether it's on a phone or a desktop, to upload files immediately. And we spoke about it last show. I mean, even Condoleezza Rice is now given her seal of approval to Roblox in the form of her joining the board, basically. So it's kind of clear that the company doesn't have any interest in people's privacy. Rice is a very big proponent of surveillance and has been for at least 9 years. That's as long as I've known her, been a big proponent of it. And another thing I would warn people about is anything to do with Facebook, including the applications for Facebook, which, as I found out, shockingly enough, not myself personally, but it tends to transmit people's data automatically. You just say yes to some question, and every time a person takes a photograph, it will be transmitted to prison, to NSA. Google is becoming just about as bad, but the head of Google Plus has just quit Google. So hopefully, uh, people may by this stage realize a lot of the so-called Google Plus users, they're not really users, they're useds, and they don't actually participate in any way in the network. It's just Google trying to auto-subscribe people and push them to clicking an OK button to add themselves as a so-called, you know, member of Google Plus. But it's mostly Google employees and some technical people, as far as I can tell.
Well, on that note, I think we'll wrap it up for this session. I know you certainly had a time limit, and I certainly have one as well. If I may, Roy, I've got one more little quick mention to make, and something quite amazing. And once you hear this, it's going to completely ruin your life, probably, if you're a Pac-Man fan. And since our show today has been quite quite directed towards gaming, it's quite relevant that we finish on this one. This was something I picked up on Twitter, and like I say, it's one of those things that once you've read it, you can't actually unread something. And said in such a way that when you read it, you have to follow the instructions because you're interested to hear if it's right. And this is what it is. It's a picture of Pac-Man, and it's got three of the ghosts on this poster, and it says in text, it says, "Did you know if you put a finger in your ear and scratch, it sounds like Pac-Man?" Well, I read that, I thought that's ridiculous. I can't possibly do that. And anyway, so I put my finger in my ear and scratched. True enough, it does actually sound like Pac-Man, the noise he made when he was eating the berries or whatever he ate on the game. So there you are. You can find that on my Twitter timeline. That and a load of other useless facts. I apologise for ruining anybody's Pac-Man memories if they have any. And Roy, I sincerely hope, Roy, when you stop recording, you take the headphones off, you put your finger in your ear and scratch, and you'll see what I mean. It does really sound like Pac-Man. So on that basis, I'm going to close the show off. We've got no objections from Roy. Hopefully we'll get another one done in the next few days. Although we always say that, then I end up letting Roy down, and Roy ends up having to wait until I turn back up in the IRC channel and we get something organised. So let's hope for the next few days. Roy, it's been a pleasure as always, and I think I'll leave the final words with you, Roy.
If I had any, well, basically, so you returned from my period of absence, nearly a year, in fact. We covered surveillance in the previous show. Today we mostly focused on games, which wasn't necessarily the intention. We didn't plan this. There's still plenty of things we can cover in the mobile space, desktop, servers, and so on, but the unfortunate thing is we sometimes have to decide whether to kind of focus on the latest news, as in today's news, or the past week's news, and even things like the past, year's news. And I guess it depends very much on the importance and granularity of the matters. What I'm hoping is that we'll kind of catch up with things we hadn't discussed before, because a lot has happened. You made a prediction about Ballmer being given the boot, and you were right. It just took a bit longer than you thought.
Yeah.
And I was right in the sense that I kind of knew what they would look for in a candidate to replace him. And I don't have to say very much, but I think it was said very well in the Jokers a few days ago that in late 2016, that will be the day that every person who used to be a racist for disliking the president will become a chauvinist.
Right. Well, that's. I was going to say